Pittsburgh Steelers fans, thanks for joining me for another Sunday edition of We Run the North. My name is Kevin Tate, guest contributor to the BTSC podcast. I'm from the Know It All podcast. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me on this Sunday, I guess late afternoon, early evening. On this show, we typically talk about all the ongoings and all the different businesses that goes on in the AFC North. We've talked about a number of things during our time together. We've talked about the best teams in the AFC North in each franchise's organization's history. We've talked about the schedule. We've talked about the draft. We've talked about a number of things over the weeks and months that I've been on here on Sunday. So no different today. What we're going to talk about today is just as the OTAs approach, where the Steelers actually start Tuesday. I'm not sure the other teams, but as OTAs approach for everybody, we're going to talk about remaining questions before we get into, the hardcore part of the off season, that being OTAs, mini camps, mandatory camps, and all those things like that, leading up to training camp. So, before we do that, I'd like to thank everybody that's joined us thus far. The few people in the live chat: Andrew Lee, a regular, Kathy Ford, Craig Lawson. What's up, man? My mother's maiden name is Lawson. I wonder if we could potentially be related, man. GT George Teston. What's up, man? How are you this evening? Who else do we have here? Let's see. Look like Miriana Burt. How you doing? Ali Howard, Species 618. What's up? James Bradshaw. Hello from Mansfield, Ohio. Hey man, I'm originally from Ohio. I'm in the DMV, Southern Maryland now, right outside of Washington, D.C., but originally from Youngstown, Ohio. So I'm familiar about Mansfield, Ohio, and just the rich football tradition that small town and even the state of Ohio carries. So, hey, what's up, everybody? So, first of all, to start things off, what we'll talk about what teams we want to talk about first. We always save the Steelers for last. Who do we talk about first? Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns. They have quite a few questions, I believe. The biggest question, the elephant in the room with the Cleveland Browns is Deshaun Watson going to be suspended? And if so, how long? So let's break that one down a little bit. I think Deshaun Watson will be suspended. I'm not sure how long. If I'm guessing between 6 and 8 games. Probably would lean with 8. He still has 22 outstanding civil cases. I've actually read recently that a couple of the accusers are going to do a television interview. I don't think the Browns camp or Deshaun Watson's camp too much care for that. They want to try and keep, everything as far as the details, particulars, hush hush. But it sounds like a couple of those women are going to come out and share their story, which they have every right to do, and they should do if they feel comfortable enough to come out and share these things. That's something that they should be able to do. So, like I said, 22 outstanding civil cases. The Browns have to answer the question at quarterback. If that happens, who plays quarterback? And that leads us to the second question for the Browns. The second elephant in the room. Man, these jokers have two big elephants in the room for sure. Baker Mayfield, still on the Browns roster. The Browns still have to pay him his 5th-year option that they signed for like almost $19 million, 18.9 something million dollars. So the Browns have to pay him that regardless. So the question becomes, should the Browns play Baker Mayfield while Deshaun Watson is suspended? That's a tough one, man. I mean, Baker Mayfield was your number one overall pick in 2018. Um, was supposed to be the franchise quarterback. He did come in. Cleveland was 1-31. Yeah, 1-31 before Baker Mayfield arrived. Since he's arrived, the Browns have turned things around. They never ever really reached the pinnacle of expectations that was had for them some of the past couple of years anyway. And that's partly due on Baker, partly due to coaching. I mean, when Baker first got there, they fired Hugh Jackson. Uh, then they gave Freddie Kitchens the job. That didn't really work out too well. Kevin Stefanski's been there a couple years now. He's done a relatively admirable job coaching the Browns. They did make the playoffs year before last, beat the Steelers in Heinz Field on the road. They finished 11-5 that year. Finished second in the North. Browns have never won the North, so they finished second in the North. They won the divisional playoff game against the Steelers. They went on to Kansas City. In that game, Patrick Mahomes got hurt. Baker Mayfield, per usual, couldn't come through in the clutch. Cleveland Browns go home in that 2021 playoffs. And then they go back to being the Browns. Baker got hurt early last year. I believe he was it a torn labrum in his shoulder, some type of shoulder injury. He played injured all year, really didn't do himself justice, especially in was a contract year. He's kind of lucky the Browns picked up his fifth-year option, but he maybe should have rested. I think the reason Baker didn't rest last year and get fully healthy because he knows how capable Case Keenum was, and Case Keenum could come in and win games, and then what would that look like on Baker? So I think he rushed himself back, never fully healthy. I think he's probably better than the quarterback we've seen. Something about being on the Browns, at least for the last 25 years, it's just not good. I mean, it's like a jinx. It's like a jinx on your back from the go. Like, if Patrick Mahomes had been drafted by the Browns and was the Browns quarterback, we might be looking at some of the same challenges and dysfunctions just because it's been the Cleveland Browns MO for the past, 25 years. I don't know. Like I said, I'm originally from Ohio, from Youngstown. A lot of my family are Cleveland Browns fans. They live right up there in that pocket. Youngstown, Ohio is right between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, like literally right in the middle. I believe it's like 60 miles each way to Cleveland and Pittsburgh from Youngstown. And I have a lot of family that are Browns fans, so I don't necessarily root for them, but I don't want to see them just be historically bad. I don't want to see them finish 0-16 and 1-15 in consecutive years. I have relatives, cousins, and stuff my age. I'm almost 50 years old. They have never seen the Browns really be a winner. They had the Bernie Kosar years, the year John Elway was stepping on them with the drive and the fumble by Ernest Biner. They had those years, but they've never really won anything. I mean, it's been since Bernie Kosar, say 87, 88. So it's been about 35 years since then. And they've had a few good seasons here and there. Again, never won the North. They did win the Central before it became the North in 2002. But so since 2002, they've never won a division. They hadn't won a playoff game in like 26, 27 years before last year. So, it's just tough being a Browns fan. So I don't know what they do about Baker Mayfield. I mean, if I was Baker, it'd be tough for me to come back and even play. He is under contract, though. He has to honor his contract in order to get paid. But it would be tough for the Browns to even bring Baker in and say, Baker, you're going to be our starter. And, but then when Desean comes back in week 8 or week 9, you're not going to be, and we're going to look to trade you. Baker could play and play up his value. If he comes in and plays well and the Browns do good, even though they're going to Deshaun Watson, Baker could boost his value up. At the halfway point of the season, before the trading deadline, if the Browns are able to trade him, then whatever team trades for him is only on the hook for half that salary or whatever the prorated amount is for number of games left. So that's a possibility. If I'm Baker, I don't want to do it. If I'm the Browns, it's messy, but it might be your best option. I mean, I think Jacoby Brissett is a good backup quarterback, but I certainly think Baker Mayfield is the better of the two between him and Jacoby Brissett. Then there's Josh Dobbs is still there, but we know from our experience in Pittsburgh, Josh is a rocket scientist. He's good in the room. He was good for Ben's ear and to go over film with Ben and stuff like that. But I don't know if he actually brings anything in regards to on the field play. So it has to be between Jacoby Brissett and Baker Mayfield. That's a question that has to be answered before the start of the season. So first things first, we have to see what Deshaun Watson's suspension is going to be, if there is one. We have to see if Cleveland is able or unable to trade Baker Mayfield. And then we go from there. I don't see Baker showing up to camp and wanting to compete for a starting job with Jacoby Brissett with a job that's ultimately not going to be his. If I'm Baker, he might lose some money, but I just sit out until they can trade me or until they cut me and I can go somewhere and try and go somewhere that I think is suitable for my particular talent, my particular skill set and bag. So we'll see what happens there in Cleveland. But those questions have to be answered. They did re-sign Jadeveon Clowney a little bit ago, a couple hours ago. So he's back opposite Myles Garrett. The Browns needed another edge rusher opposite Myles Garrett. So they have that. Clowney is not an imposing, scary dude. He's a freak of an athlete. And that hit that he put on Michigan's Deshaun Robinson coming out of college catapulted him into just like some ridiculous type status and expectations. He's never lived up to those. The number 1 overall pick. He's a solid player. He's not a bust, but the number 1 overall pick, he's supposed to be much more of an impact player and difference maker than what he has been during his career. But Cleveland got him back, so they have somebody to fill that void opposite Myles Garrett, and we'll see how that goes. So let's see. Let's look at the live chat real quick. We're looking at live chat between talking about teams. We're going to look here and see if anybody has any comments about what's going on with the Browns. Bad itch. Is this Locked On Browns? No, bro. This is AFC. We run the North. AFC North talk. We talk about the AFC North every week, and the Browns are in the AFC North. So, we're talking about them first. But if you hang around long enough, bad itch, we'll get to the Steelers. I promise. It's going to happen. Bad itch again. That's it. All I have is 15 minutes of Browns talk. Peace out, Steeler fans. Done with this podcast. What a joke on BTSC today. Sorry you feel that way, bad itch. Okay, I don't really see too many questions about what the questions are looming for the Cleveland Browns. So let's move on. Let's go to the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, the question they have to answer is, what are they going to do about the Lamar Jackson contract situation? They've been kind of negotiating off and on. Lamar Jackson represents himself. He represents himself, and his mother is his de facto agent. So I don't know where this goes. I mean, they obviously picked up the 5th-year option. they'd like to get a long-term deal done. I don't know if it's being held up because of Lamar or because of Baltimore. I could see Lamar is going into his 5th year. He's won an MVP. I think they went to the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. He's been the starter, except for last year, and they didn't make it last year only because he got hurt. I mean, think about it. The Ravens were 8-3 going into about the midway point of the season. Then they lost their last 6 because Jackson was hurt. So, we're talking quarterback money nowadays in 2022. Hey, thanks, Claude, man. Your show is always great. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks for tuning in. We love having you here, man. Thanks a lot. Jersey Boy 70. I think Lamar Jackson is not good in the pocket. I would agree with you, Jersey Boy. Lamar Jackson is a threat when he gets out the pocket. He can make some throws. He's not going to just drop back and throw darts all over the field and beat you that way. But if he breaks contain or a play breaks down and he gets out of the pocket with his near 4.5 40 speed, might be like 4.47 or 4.48, something like that. But he gets outside the pocket with that speed, then it's a problem. I'm not worried about him being beaten from the pocket. The Steelers seem to have always had a good formula against Lamar Jackson, and I like that. But before we get in that kind of stuff, let's talk about Lamar Jackson's contract. Like I said, been to the playoffs 3 out of 4 years, been a starter. Only reason they don't go last year under his watch is because of the injury. He's won an MVP. I think the Ravens have won a division 2 out of the 4 years that he was a starter. Maybe even 3 of the 4 years. The Steelers won not last year. Well, no, so the Bengals won last year. So yeah, 2 out of 4. 2 out of 4 years, the Baltimore has won the division. And Lamar Jackson, like we said, was won an MVP. And he has to want, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott. He has to want that type of money. He has to want upwards of $40 to $45 million a year. Now, what's that look like? Does Baltimore commit to a quarterback that is definitely one of the top in the league right now, but that's because he can use his legs as a threat? In 3 or 4 years worth of hits, worth of sacks, worth of tackles on rushes, worth of, 3 or 4 years worth of losing a step far as speed goes, and a guy that is not a pure pocket passer, is it worth that contract? I don't know. And that's the dilemma, and that's the question Baltimore has to answer. That's a tough question. I'd say Lamar Jackson is probably worth it right now, going into his 5th season, the 2022 season. But is he worth it in 2025? I don't know. That's a tough question. That seems like him and John Harbaugh are kind of wed together, Wang Harbs, as the broadcast likes to call him. Seems like they're kind of wed together. What do you guys think? I don't know what I think. What do you guys think? In the live chat. Let's see. Claude, what are you saying? I see something about. Absolutely. I think that's a good take, Claude. He will have to run. It's set up for him to run. They don't have any receivers. The only one I can really name is Rashad Bateman. They're getting J.K. Dobbins back, so they have a weapon at tight end. I mean, at running back. We know they have Mark Andrews at tight end, and they drafted the kid at Iowa State, so I think they'll go a lot of 12 personnel. He was a really good receiving tight end, kind of built like Mark Andrews, 6'4", 250, 255, something like that. The good inline size tight end. But yeah, he has to run. He could get hurt like he got hurt, because typically when guys get hurt, right, quarterbacks and stuff like that, when you're young, you just deal with it and fight through stuff. As you get older, those injuries linger a little longer. And, it's a little tougher to get over some of that stuff. So he could come back healthy for the beginning of the season and then say 4 or 5 games into the season, he gets hit a few times and he's hurt again. I mean, what do you do? I mean, I like Tyler Huntley, not as good as Lamar Jackson, but a much cheaper option. I mean, I think if we were talking about value, paying Lamar Jackson $45 million a year versus paying Tyler Huntley $3 or $4 million a year, you probably get better value from Tyler Huntley. But Lamar Jackson is dynamic right now, so they really have to figure out what they're going to do. Let's see if we have any other comments about the Ravens and what their questions might be. Let's see, what's this latest comment? The white tail tracker. Running backs better figure out how to pick up the blitz here. Who are we talking about, man? Pick up the blitz. Are we talking about the Ravens running backs need to pick up the blitz? Are we just talking exclusively about the Steelers? Let me know, but we're going to get to the Steelers shortly. But yeah, so that's the question that Baltimore has to answer. I'm not sure what they do. Excuse me. That's kind of a pickle, but that's their pickle. So, okay, so yeah, you're right. The whitetail tracker was talking about the Ravens running backs. They do need to pick up the blitz and offer Lamar Jackson some protection. I do think with the fact that they are thin at receiver, not dynamic at receiver, they'll be running a lot of 12 personnel and probably lots of heavy packages with fullbacks and H-backs and, they're going to be doing all sorts of that kind of stuff. So although they have speed at the quarterback position, they don't have speed on the outside. Bateman is good, not great. So they don't scare me as a defense. I think we can kind of play with 7 or 8 in the box and kind of, force the pass in that matchup. I see some people picking the Ravens. Nick Wright, if any of you watch First Things First on Fox Sports in the morning, picked his predictions for division winners and AFC North playoff teams. I believe he had the Steelers finishing 7-10. He had Baltimore finishing 13-4, winning the AFC North. They play a last place schedule, and we went over this last week. So I think they play Jacksonville, and they play the Jets, and the last place team in the AFC East / the NFC East, was the New York Giants. They play the Giants. So they have few easier games, but pretty much we all play the same schedule. Yeah. I don't know what Baltimore does with that, man. That's a tough question. To commit 4 years, $170 million, or 5 years, $220 million, that's a big commitment to a quarterback who might not always be there and who can get hurt. And yeah, you're right, whitetail tracker running multiple tight ends says they definitely will be doing that. Okay, so that's pretty much the question for the Baltimore Ravens, the big looming question that needs to be answered. That's the one. Do you pay Lamar Jackson? So moving along, we'll move on to the defending AFC North Division champ, the defending AFC Conference champion, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals question is, they've done a lot of things, but this is not what I'm going to get into now, but they're going to have to decide who they're going to pay. They have Joe Burrow, we know is going to get paid. The contract we were just talking about for Lamar Jackson, we know Joe Burrow's getting that and then some. So Joe Burrow would be a $45, $50 million QB. Just a matter of when. They'll probably do it sooner rather than later because the market is only go up. It's only going to go up. So if I could get Joe Burrow extended now at the current market rate, in 2 years when his contract time, his new contract kicks in, you're getting them at a slight value. Because if you sign them now for the market value now, again in 2 years, you're getting the most bang for your buck because the price of elite quarterbacks will have gone up in another 2 years. So I would go ahead and try and extend him now if I'm the Bengals. Uh the homie B Dirt. What's up, B Dirt? Hey man, good. He was down here. My boy B Dirt made it down here. He was on a business trip to Richmond, and on his way back up to Pittsburgh, he stopped through and hung out and stayed overnight. We hung out. Hadn't seen him in a couple of years in person, so it was good to see him. Definitely the all-time one of the largest, biggest Bengal fans I know. But he says Jesse Bates won't play. That is a question. It's not a question because they've already signed or put the franchise tag on Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates doesn't want to play for the franchise tag. So does that mean he doesn't play? So the question there is, what do the Bengals do? There's not too much they can do. I mean, if he decides not to play and to sit out, he's going to not play and he's going to sit out. The Bengals did draft the safety. They drafted the kid out of Michigan. I forget these young people's names already, man. What was the dude's name from Michigan? We looked at him as some Steeler fans. We were looking at him potentially. Help me out live chat. What's the guy's name from Michigan the Bengals drafted? Anybody? But anyway, they have him. They have Von Bell. So I think they are okay at safety. Obviously, let's see. Mod. What's up, Mod? Mod is one of my co-hosts on the Know It Alls podcast. I guess he's talking about Jesse Bates being a huge loss for the Bengals. I would agree, but I think they can survive it. And if he doesn't play, he don't want to get that 15, 16 million a year. Then the Bengals put it back on the books because they're going to have to make some decisions. Like I said, Joe Burrow is getting paid. T. Higgins is going to be coming up. He's high-end number 2 wide receiver money. And we see those guys, guys like Christian Kirk got 18 million. So what's a T. Higgins worth? And we know when it's time for Jamar Chase to get paid. Granted, he's on a rookie contract now. When it's time for him to get paid, though, he's going right straight to the top of the ladder. If he continues like he is, he's going to be the highest paid receiver in the league. We're talking, 30 million like Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams are getting. So the Bengals need to prioritize having things to do. In my opinion, if Jesse Bates wants to sit out and don't play, not all that bad. They save that money. They get, thanks B Dirt. They get Dax Hill in. That's the guy from Michigan that I got to say this, that if you watched any of the George Pickens highlights and stuff, George Pickens straight just bullied Dax Hill in the college football playoffs, just pushed him down and told him to be quiet. But yeah, so if I'm the Bengals, man, I'm not all mad if Jesse Bates don't play. We did what we could do. We offered him a franchise tag. We probably, realistically, only want him to play this year anyway. Then we probably draft another safety to go with Daxton Hill, and we probably either go with Von Bell with Daxton Hill or draft another safety. So if I'm the Bengals, I'm not really upset at that. But that is a question that has to be answered, among other things. Again, who gets paid? I mean, when you're an up-and-coming team, you got to pay these guys. The Bengals won the Super Bowl. Think about the Rams last year. The Rams are paying Aaron Donald. They're paying Jalen Ramsey. They're paying Matt Stafford. Pretty soon they're going to have to pay Cooper Kupp a big contract based off what he's doing. They just signed the receiver from Chicago, played at Penn State. Why do I forget these guys' names? But yeah, that guy. They just signed him. I don't know if they'll bring Odell back. He got hurt, but if he didn't get hurt, he was going to be up for probably a big contract from the Rams. So when you're one of the elite teams, you gotta make moves. And in the NFL, it's a hard salary cap. It's not like the NBA where if you go over, you can pay a luxury tax. It's not like that. All teams are working with the same amount of capital and the same amount of pool resources to pull from. Let's see. Be right back to that one. Hey, thanks, Reginald River. Allen Robinson, you're right, man. Thanks a lot. Soon as somebody tells me, it just goes right back in my head, man. But I don't know how I forget this stuff. Uh, Ali Howard, species 5618. What's up, man? The Browns and Bengals will price themselves out of contentment soon. Out of contentment? Okay, I think I know what you mean. But yeah, um, especially the Browns with that guaranteed $230 million contract to Deshaun Watson. And they're paying Myles Garrett. They just paid Ward, the cornerback. So yeah, they have some things. They're playing Amari Cooper. They have some things coming up. I mean, I think this is the year they need to try and get it because next year there'll be a lot of questions. B. Dirk says Cam Taylor Britt is going to be the steal for our draft. He's the cornerback out of Nebraska, big physical. I like Cam Taylor Britt. Jesse Bates isn't worth paying top five safety money. I'm cool with it. See, I kind of feel the same way, man. And you're a Bengals fan, so I know you know, and I'm feeling the same way. So we'll see. Another one from the Bengals fan, B. Dirt. Aaron Donald didn't get his money, and it's a real possibility that he will retire. They'll work it out. Aaron Donald's not retiring. Retirement is his leverage. I agree with you there, but he's already making big money. He wants to make bigger money since he just seems to keep getting better and better. But you gotta have to take your piece of the pie. You don't always have to have the biggest piece of the pie. Take your piece of the pie, man. I mean, being a Steeler fan, I don't see Cam Hayward complaining about wanting more money. He's playing out his contract. He's probably overplayed his contract. He's been all pro throughout the last 3 years, been in like 3 or 4 consecutive Pro Bowls. He's the heart and soul of the Steeler defense, and a team captain. But he just, comes to work, puts on his hard hat, grabs his lunch pail, continues to play for the contract that he signed. Claude says the Bengals will choke because of the pressure. Just watch. Claude, I don't know if they'll choke. I don't know if they can have the same expectations and not going to the Super Bowl expectations because that's really, really lofty for any team. But have the expectations of winning division. The division is so tough. They kind of surprised some of us last year. They're a good team. Not saying the Bengals aren't a good team. I think they're a really good team. I think Joe Burrow might be a top 5 quarterback. But they kind of surprised some people last year, and teams won't be taking them lightly this year. Like, oh, we play the Bengals. They're going to be like, we play the Bengals. The Bengals have a bullseye on their back now because they're the defending AFC conference champions. They're the Super Bowl, one of the Super Bowl teams. So yeah, they'll have a bullseye on their back, and teams it won't be easy this year. So I don't disagree with you, Claude. Let's see, Mod again. I'm the second place know-it-all. Come on, man. You know I'm the know-it-all that knows the most, bruh. Cut it out. Let's see. Josh Parker. Bengals are the team to beat. They hold the crown right now. I agree, Josh. Absolutely right. They are the team to beat. That's why I said I think it's going to be tougher than it was last year because last year they weren't the team to beat. They were the Bengals, And we know the Bungles, not to disrespect them, but previous years, we know how the Bengals were. And last year, they were really good. And in 2022, they will surprise no one. So they are the team to beat. They do hold the crown. But because they're the team to beat, that's why it's going to be tougher on them. Mark my words. Uh, B Dirt. I guess he's talking about Deshaun Watson. Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer getting 2 year suspension without getting convicted is not good for Deshaun Watson. I think he's going to get more than 4 game suspension than I originally predicted. Yeah, I don't know if you were here, B Dirt. We talked about that, the Browns first, and I predict 6 to 8 games. And yeah, I saw that Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer got suspended 2 years and with no criminal conviction. Man, these leagues aren't playing, man. I mean, we live in a different climate and culture now. I mean, like these teams and these leagues they can't just give these guys that are accused of different things just slaps on the wrist. You have to show these things some serious attention, some serious respect, and that could be, you know, heavy punishment. So we will see. Let's see. James Bradshaw says they won't choke, but I see nobody beating Buffalo. Buffalo looks good, and the Bengals don't have to choke. I mean, they're going to be playing some tough games. Every game in the North is going to be tough. They play a first place schedule. They play the Dallas Cowboys. If I'm picking that game week 2, I'm going to roll with the Bengals beating the Cowboys because I just my co-host Mod, who's in the live chat, is a huge Cowboys fan. He's always talking about the Cowboys, so I just want to see the Cowboys lose because he has ridiculous expectations for the Cowboys. I told him the Eagles are going to win that division. Uh, you're right, Claude. The ball did bounce their way a lot during the playoffs. A lot during the playoffs. I mean, the game against the Raiders drove down what the last drive of the game was inside the 10 and could have either got the tie and score or the go ahead score, but the Bengals were able to hold them out. Then we talk about the game against the Titans. They give up 9 sacks and still win. Ryan Tannehill throws 3 interceptions, kind of gave it away. All the breaks right there. We talk about the game against the Chiefs. The Chiefs had an amazing first half and kind of just like, I don't know what that second half was all about, but yeah. So the Bengals did catch a lot of breaks, and they could have actually parlayed that into a Super Bowl win. I mean, they were right there. I thought Joe Burrow was going to take them down and lead them to a game-winning drive, but Von Miller and Aaron Donald was having none of that last drive of the Super Bowl. Ma, you was wrong about that on our podcast. You didn't think Deshaun Watson was going to get suspended at all. He's going to get suspended. And it's going to be more than 2 games. Like I said, 6 to 8 minimum in my book on my take. I'll take that over Ma as much as you want to bet. Yeah, you guys go ahead and get a good bet in on that Cowboy Bengals game. I mean, I should be rooting for the Cowboys just for the Bengals to lose, but my hatred for the Cowboys is deeper than my dislike for the Bengals. So yeah, and I don't even hate the Cowboys. I just hate Cowboy fans. It just, oh my gosh. But anyway, so yeah, the Bengals' big question is what to do with Jesse Bates and who we going to pay. So that's coming up. Okay, so now we'll get into what I think the big questions are for the Pittsburgh Steelers going into OTAs next week and training camp coming up in another month and a half. Um, I think the biggest question is who's going to be our starting quarterback? One, Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky? I personally don't think Mason Rudolph is in true contention. They say it's, an open competition. He has a shot, But if we're being realistic, we're going to split the reps between the top two. I mean, because we have to get a feel. You can't split reps in thirds and not give everybody a viable chance. Thirds don't get that. You have to cut the reps in half. Give Kenny Pickett half the reps. Give Mitch Trubisky half the reps. That's how I see that. Uh, yeah, I think Chris Odulikin will be the third. Will end up being a third quarterback. I think they're grooming him to be Kenny Pickett's backup whenever Mitch Trubisky's contract is up. He signed a 2-year contract. So I think Odulakun will be the third quarterback. He'll either be on the practice squad if they can stash him away there, or he'll dress and have a helmet and just be the third emergency quarterback. But right now, 1 and 2, either way it goes, I believe is between Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky. You guys let me know in the live chat who you like. Let's see a couple of these live chats. People still talking about Watson should get suspended. They suspended Ridley just for gambling. Yeah, they suspended Ridley for the whole season for gambling on the game. I mean, Deshaun Watson will get suspended. You're right, Shaquille Greg. He will get suspended. Mod says, see y'all in the know-it-alls. Yeah, I'm going there right after this, about 6:15, 6:30 Eastern time. So if you can check in on YouTube and the know-it-alls, check it out. We talk about the gamut of sports. We'll talk some Steeler talk, definitely, because me and Big G, the other co-host, we love the Steelers. And we'll talk about the NBA playoffs and some other things. But let's see. Claude, who has the most pressure on the Steelers this season? Matt Canada and Mike Tomlin. No number 7 to blame. I don't think pressure's on Tomlin, Claude. I think Tomlin's proven himself over the years. I don't know if it's pressure on him he has his own pressure on himself to have a winning season. I don't know if they're expecting to make a deep playoff run if they do have a winning season, but I would say next year pressure would be on Tomlin as far as winning a playoff game or two, because it's been so long since we've won one. I don't know if we put a new quarterback either way, Mitch or Kenny, and put those expectations on them and say that that's pressure, because that would be pressure on them and pressure. And I don't think that's pressure on Tomlin. I don't think we can put pressure on those guys. I do anticipate them having the winning season. I don't know if I foresee them parlaying that into playoff success. But a wild card game on the road, if they don't win the division, obviously, and they could be in it and win a game in the playoff. But I don't see I'm not expecting too much. I would love it if it happens. I'm rooting for it, and I think they're capable, but I'm not expecting it. I think pressure's on Matt Canada, though. I do agree there. Matt Canada, offensive coordinator. I don't blame Matt Canada too much for last year. I'm not myself personally. I think a lot of that, the offense the past couple years, is directly attributed to the offensive line not being really good and being getting old. Ben obviously couldn't move in the pocket. That's huge nowadays in today's game. And not taking away from anything he did prior to the previous 2 or 3 years before his pre-elbow injury Ben, but he couldn't throw the ball deep downfield. He refused to throw it over the middle. He got rid of it quick because he didn't want to get hit, and the O line it was crappy. But yeah, so the past 2 years, we just became predictable. That little short wide receiver passing game and stuff like that, and the bad O line, it wasn't working. I think Canada now has his pieces. Ben didn't want to get under the center. Ben didn't want to do a lot of play action. Ben was incapable of doing bootleg, rollout, RPOs, and all those things that Canada's going to bring. So I do think there's a certain amount of pressure on Canada now that the team has invested so much in the offense. We signed James Daniel. We signed Mason Cole on the O-line. We re-signed Chooks. And a lot of people think we didn't make a lot of moves on the O-line. But I think you have to consider the O-line development, the O-line getting better, a new voice in the room as far as offensive line coach Pat Meyer coming in. He's worked with Matt Canada before. We upgraded the talent with James Daniel. I believe Kevin Dotson will come back this year on a mission and healthy. Chooks. I mean, a lot of people, Steeler fans, complain about the signing of Chooks. I like the signing of Chooks. It's not all guaranteed money. There's incentives in there, so the contract is not as high as what it sounds. But Chooks is going to be a fifth-year starter and only 25 years old. I mean, he's going to get better. Offensive tackles usually hit their prime around 29, 30. So he started for 4 years and still far away from his prime. So I like Chooks. Dan Moore, there was some talk about us signing Eric Fisher. That was early in the week, kind of cooled off. I don't know where that's at. But I even like Dan Moore. You know how we, as Steeler fans, we see the leap and what Coach Tomlin expects, the leap in rookies in their second year, the big jump that they should make. So I'm expecting some type of jump from Dan Moore. But I like Dan Moore. And again, I told you about Kevin Dotson. And the center position. I don't know who that's a camp battle. I don't know who gets that. Yeah. It could be Mason Cole. It could be Kendrick Green. I'm anxious to see what Kendrick Green looks like coming into this year's camp, because he's coming into year 2 also. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Kendrick Green is going to bring and what Mason Cole brings. That should be a good competition. Again, so the biggest question, let me see what Shaquille Gregory is saying. I agree, Shaquille. We did bring in, what was the guy's name? I forget his name already. We did bring in a tackle this week. I don't know that he's expected to start. He's deaf. He's got experience, professional experience, but we'll see. So we did bring in a tackle. Jersey Boy 70, Kenny Pickett, he has to look very bad to lose the job. I kind of think Kenny Pickett should be the favorite going into camp. I mean, because I think the Steelers signed Mitchell Trubisky because we needed a quarterback. We didn't want to go with just Mason Rudolph. We needed a quarterback. And I think when they signed Mitchell Trubisky, the plan was we're going to draft the quarterback, but it's going to be Malik Willis or Desmond Ridder, because they didn't think Kenny Pickett would be there. Understandably so. The number 1 overall rated quarterback on most boards, the most pro-ready quarterback. Malik Willis was rated pretty high pre-draft, but Kenny Pickett was the most ready to play right away. So the fact that Kenny Pickett was there at pick 20 kind of changed everything. You got that quarterback that's ready to play. You got Mitchell Trubisky that didn't play at all last year, so they both played the same amount of games in the NFL last year. So I look for, I'm kind of torn on that. I kind of understand why Mitch could win and be the guy and what he potentially could bring in this system and under a new regime and coaches and stuff like that. But you spend first-round draft capital on Kenny Pickett and he's ready to play right away. If he does good in camp, if it's equal, you play Pickett, right? That's what I think. But I don't know, man. That's a tough one. That's definitely a tough one. Ali Howard says, I agree. That's kind of what I said. Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the NFL. He's top 5 coach. We have Steeler fans. Some of us, we always complain about Tomlin and stuff like that. But his teams are always generally ready to play. He loses some games that Steelers, not him by himself, the Steelers lose some games that they probably should win. The team plays down sometimes to their opponent. But overall, I mean, 15 seasons, no losing record, has a Super Bowl on his resume. He's a great motivator. Players love playing for him. We get players that come to us because of Mike Tomlin, i.e. C. Miles Jack. And it's something different every year. Brian Flores, him with the Steelers, he's gonna make a huge difference on that defense. Just his voice in the room, and his ideas and stuff like that. So we'll see. But we're gonna be getting out of here in a few minutes. So, but the other question, I think, big question the Steelers have to answer. We talked about the quarterback. That was the biggest. We talked about the line a little bit and the competitions there. But even bigger than that, not biggest quarterback, but bigger than the O-line, I think we have some players in the O-line. We just need development, continuity, those guys learning to play together and things like that. And I think the O-line will be okay. But the other big question is Stephon Tuitt. What is Stephon Tuitt going to do? I don't know. I mean, do we think he'll be in camp starting Tuesday? I don't know, man. I'd love to see him back. We can certainly use him. You have to have some sympathy and understanding for the traumatic situation he went through since last June, the loss of a brother. I have only one brother. My brother and I are very close. I couldn't imagine. Yeah, but that, as far as football goes, decisions have to be made, and the Steelers have to know, well, man, another big decision. How am I for leaving out the general manager? That might come in second after quarterback, then Stephon Tuitt. As far as the general manager goes, I like Brandon Hunt. I like the continuity of somebody that worked many years under Kevin Colbert. Colbert will still be involved with the organization in some form or fashion. So, yeah, I like Brandon Hunt and Omar Khan in a deal role. I mean, they've been working right up under Kevin Colbert for the past 10 years anyway. And I like the way those guys work and the things they each bring. So if it's some type of dual role that the Steelers can figure out and bring both those guys back, I'm all in favor of that. But yeah, now let's see. Shaquille Gregory, do you think we need more edge depth? Shaquille, I do. I kind of like the undrafted free agent out of Texas A&M. He's undrafted free agent for a reason, but I think there's potential to get reps. I mean, whoever the fourth guy is going to be, they won't have to do a whole lot. Be good on special teams, come in maybe for 5 plays a game because you're giving TJ Highsmith and the other guy that we got that played for the Eagles and the Browns. See, these names just, when the season starts, I'll know numbers and names of everybody. But yeah, that guy. I think they'll be okay. I mean, they could add an edge rusher. I don't know if it's the biggest need, but if they could bring somebody in, if they could bring in the guy, what's the guy that played for the Redskins all those years? Went to Purdue. See, I forget these names. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, Kerrigan. If they could bring in Kerrigan, he wants to. Avery Shaquille, thanks, man. That's what I'm talking about. Gerard Avery. Yeah. So I think with him being the third, and then they'll find a fourth. Tushka will be back potentially. He's okay. He's good at fourth too. He could potentially be beat out by somebody that has a higher athletic profile, maybe the guy from Texas A&M. But yeah, I like Avery as the relief pitcher, the third edge rusher. We could use a fourth, but we'll see. Okay, Hunt, is that who we're talking about for Texas A&M? Oh no, Brandon Hunt. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Uh, I do too. I prefer talent scouts. I mean, because at the end of the day, we're talking about building a football team. So we need to be able to be a talent evaluator and be able to put pieces together. Though, we do need the admin guys. And I wasn't a big fan of Riddick too, but I read where he signed with ESPN extension, and he's going to be there. So, man, we got about 2 or 3 minutes, guys. Uh, Justin Houston, Shaquille Gregory. Hey, man, I like Justin Houston. I don't know if we get Justin Houston though. He's been a multiple time Pro Bowler, led the league in sacks. You know, he's like a proven commodity, a proven player. He's getting a little older, but I don't know that we'd be any different than we were last year with Melvin Ingram. He might come in and think, "Oh man, I'm going to beat this Highsmith dude out." They got to start me. We don't want that. We want somebody to come in and understands their role playing behind Alex Highsmith. They know they're going to play behind TJ Watt, but yeah, got to play behind Alex Smith too. Dennis Quinn, what's up, man? Ryan Kerrigan or close to league minimum on close to league minimum. Hey, I would love that, but Ryan Kerrigan would have to accept that. I don't know how that pans out, but he's available. I would love to take him. Let me see. Get up at Claude's comment. Mitch will start for the Steelers for the next 2 years. He's been a Pro Bowler in the NFL. Pickett had one good college year. Claude, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't disagree. I don't know if you draft Kenny Pickett in the first round, will be 24 when the season starts, who played basically 5 college seasons, not NFL experience, but played 5 college seasons. I don't know that you say that guy sits for 2 years. He can sit this year, maybe part of this year, but I don't think he definitely doesn't sit for 2 years. But yeah, so Steeler fans, man, so the biggest question for the Steelers, starting quarterback 2022 season opener at Cincinnati Bengals. Question 1. Question 2 should be answered within the next month before training camp starts. Who's the next GM? General manager for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Question number 3. What do we do with Stephon Tuitt, and what does Stephon Tuitt do with us? We'll have to cross that bridge here shortly. It'll be coming though. Still would like to see the Steelers spend a little money on a D'Angelo Williams type to help with Harris' development. I don't know that Harris needs help with his development. I think he needs somebody to give him a blow. I really like the undrafted free agent, Mateo Durant. I like him. I like, man, we've never had a chance to see Anthony McFarland healthy. So hopefully he'll come in the camp and he'll do something. But I wouldn't mind the Steelers drafting a veteran back. I don't know who that guy is yet. David Johnson, who was an all-pro for the Arizona Cardinals in last 2 years played for the Houston Texans. He's 30 years old, but he's a proven back. He's experienced. I think in our system, he could be good. He probably wouldn't cost a lot. I wouldn't mind seeing that either. So, But yeah, so we're going to get ready to get out of here. I'm trying to get as many comments as I can. Last one. Jabari Wilson. My bold take, I won't be surprised if Mitch plays majority of the year because of 2 reasons. He spent the whole last year to learn under Josh Allen. He had better weapons than Pitt. Do you agree? I do agree, but I think Mitch will be better than he's ever been. I think he'll be better because of the time in Buffalo. But I think Kenny Pickett is outside of experience in the NFL. I think from a talent perspective, I mean, Mitch was number 2 overall pick, but I think Kenny Pickett is on equal footing with Mitch Trubisky, and it's really going to be open competition and who looks the best and who plays the best in camp. But with all that being said, those are the questions going into OTAs and the training camp the Steelers have to answer. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Again, check out all the different shows on the BTSC network. Uh, the YouTube shows, this show on Sundays, typically at 5 o'clock. We run the North tomorrow. We're talking about uh, The Hangover with Brian Anthony Davis, Shannon White, Tony Defio. Tuesday's the Scobro Show with Big Bro Sco and Dave Schofield. Wednesday, I always because the Wednesday show changes, so I forget the name of it. But Jeffrey Benedict and Shannon White, check them out on Wednesday evening. On Thursday is the show with Jeff Hartman, uh, Big Bro, not Big Bro Sco, Dave Schofield, Brian Anthony Davis. Again, the name of the Thursday show slips me. Friday, the Six Pack with Tony Defio. Saturday, the Boys Down Under. And all the different audio shows. Let's Ride, Jeff Hartman, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You got a lot of different breakdowns and stuff for different audio shows. Check them out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and some of the other audio only platforms. Again, thanks for joining me. I'm about to get off here and jump over to my Know It All podcast here, probably starting about the next 15, 20 minutes. We'd love it if any of you Steelers fans join us. We'll promise you we'll talk about some Steelers stuff too. And if you have any interest in the NBA playoffs or baseball or any of that kind of stuff, check us out. I'm Kevin Tate. I appreciate you guys for joining me. Until next week on the We Run the North podcast, here we go, Steelers. Thanks for joining me. Peace.